creepy and fun. So it's a horror thing, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think I would say,
disclose that.
I would say it's horror, but honestly, the first half is horror and then it goes into something else.
Okay.
I think it has a lot more in common with stories like Contact or Solaris than it does with, most typical
Do
horror.
you think that some of your book content is kind of channeled sometimes?
100%. I think most of it is. I think my best stuff is definitely comes from these strange inspirations, mostly from fever dreams. I like a year ago, I was on a plane and this woman was screaming and yelling, and she couldn't get her bag up over on the top and everything, and her face was red. And I looked up at her. I said, "I'm sorry you're having a terrible day." I said, "Let me get that for you." And she just went dead quiet as a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started to cry.
Oh,
And I was not expecting that.
oh,
And she was like, "My mom is dying. My mom is dying. I got to
oh.
get to Chicago, and everything's getting in the way. And every minute is a minute I'm not going to have with her." And she just unloaded and cried. And I was like, wow, that's why she was so angry and freaked out and wound up. It wasn't because she was being mean.
Hi, how, when are you? Did I do it? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, totally fine.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay. So, in typical fashion of writers, my glasses totally fell apart as I sat down.
Oh, wow.
I was like, just like this is like the Twilight Zone Burgess Meredith episode, like totally come to life. I was like, what? Of course, I put them on and they just went, all the glasses came out, and I'm like trying to find the screwdriver. I'm
Oh
like, I have like
no.
3 minutes left.
Oh no. Well, my phone rang off the hook for the last 2 minutes, so
Of course.
whatever. Yeah. So it's good to
So
see you.
you too. This is really exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's only been a week and it's just been I've already interviewed like 7 people and it's really fun. I really enjoy it. So we'll have
Wow,
to put them all out now.
that's really cool. Well, I'm really excited about this. So
Oh,
I'm glad
really?
it's going well. I'm glad you're having a lot of
Good.
people to talk to, and that's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, it's really
So,
fun. So, all right, well, I mean, let's start. So, so hi, this is Debbie with By Storytellers, and I'm on with John Palisano. How do I say it? Is that right?
Palisano.
Palisano? Okay, let me start over. Hi, I'm Debbie with By Storytellers, and I'm on with John Palisano. And we're going to talk about his books. He's a prolific writer. Hey, John, good to see you. We
Hi,
did we
you
did
too.
a book show together, and it was raining, and then it stopped raining, and then it rained again, and then it stopped raining, then it rained again. I liked that actually. Of course, it made my hair curl, but whatever.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a big fan of bad weather. I think it's really cool. And I actually think it added to the ambiance,
Mhm.
and it was funny because there were a lot of people still were coming out, and it
Yeah.
was really cool. It
I
was
was
shocking.
amazed. I was amazed there were that many people on a rainy day that read books. Yeah, like
No, I think it makes sense. I think a lot of people that read books really like the rain, and they like to just that whole romantic notion of sitting in a cozy armchair reading,
that's
you know,
true.
and going out for a nice coffee at a coffee shop in the rain is and having a good book is really good. So
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, so you have lots of books. So what do you want to talk about first?
I think the one that's most at the top of mind for me is Requiem,
Yeah.
which is just been released and I think that's the big one at the moment for me.
Yeah, so tell us about Requiem.
Requiem is a story of grief and of loss, and it centers around Ava, who has lost the love of her life on a previous space mission to the moon. And she takes a job on the Eden, which is a big floating mortuary in space. And she hopes to get some peace and closure on that loss. But little does she know, the Eden is being targeted by a supernatural force from space that is going to make everybody's grief and broken parts come to life around them.
Ooh, wow.
So, yeah, it's fun.
Creepy and fun. So it's a horror thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Disclose that.
I would say it's horror, but honestly, the first half is horror and then it goes into something else.
Okay.
I think it has a lot more in common with stories like Contact or Solaris than it does with, most typical horror. And I
Like
think
it's
that's what a lot of the the reviewers are saying is that
Hmm.
there some people get it and they love that last third goes into something very different than most horror.
Hmm.
Um, but then a lot of the horror fans say, hey, after the first third, there's not a lot of horror and it becomes this like other kind of journey. And that's on purpose. That's on design. That's just the story that came out. And I knew that it was going to be kind of challenging for some way. So I think personally, I call it a space gothic story
Hmm. Hmm.
because I think it has much more to do with gothic storytelling, like the lost, the love, and the ghosts, and you're being stuck in a haunted kind of house basically in space. So
Hmm.
for me, it's more that than like than a horror book, but
Yeah, it's a gripping
they're
thriller,
close.
I think. Like it
Yeah,
just doesn't stop until the
yes,
very end. That's so fun.
this is
How
true.
did you think of the idea?
It started with a nightmare where I was one of the interred in this glass coffin, looking
Ooh,
down and suspended in fluid, looking down at Earth.
wow.
And I
As
was
a
like, I was so scared when I woke up. I was like, oh man, I got to use this for something.
wow,
So
that's really cool. So it came from somewhere, like
yeah,
like channeled. Do you think that some of your book content is kind of channeled sometimes?
100%. I think most of it is. I think my best stuff is definitely comes from these strange inspirations, mostly from fever dreams. I've suffered from terrible fever dreams since I was a kid.
Mm,
And one of my therapists when I was young said, "Well, why don't you draw them out or write them down, as stories, and that will help exercise them from recurring from your brain." It's one of the things we try. And I did try it, and it worked. And then I started doing them as stories and changing them enough and bring them to the class for assignments and stuff. And it kind of grew from there. And I still get terrible dreams. So, and
really?
yeah, all the time. Like,
Wow.
so I have no shortage of ideas. Just, which ones are we going to implement? Which ones are going to like go the distance to a novel or a short story?
Oh my
That's
gosh.
the trouble.
So are all your books then that in that vein, sort of from the terrible dream kind of thing? So they're all a little darker. I think from the book titles, Dust of the Dead, and some of the others look so wonderful.
Yeah, I think most of them do start that way. Even if there's a tiny little seed that still gets carried through, I think that they still started the way. I mean, Dust of the Dead started like that because way before the pandemic, when we were having a lot of fires when I was living in LA, um, I was driving down the street and I saw embers
Mm,
from the fires, and it really kind of freaked me out. And then I started breathing it in my lungs, and I thought, oh man, what if
mm.
this stuff gets inside you and it's carrying germs?
Oh wow.
And then I thought, well, what if there's the zombie apocalypse and when you burn bodies and stuff and there's remnants that come off of them. And I hadn't seen anybody really exploring like what the nasty ramifications of having millions of dead bodies and zombies would do to the living.
Wow.
So I that was the seed of Dust of the Dead. But that
Wow.
also, yeah, so that kind of came from a real world kind of thing. But m most of my other stuff does come like in other kind of dream or daydream kind of situations.
So you won the Bram Stoker Award.
Yeah, I won the Stoker several years back for a short story called Happy Joe's Rest Stop,
That
which
sounds
was
fun. Sounds
that was
a little cringy.
yeah, it was that was a strange story, and I had been nominated several times, but I think that story is all about. I used to go. My dad worked in the movie, so I'd sometimes go on trips with him to some of the sets or things like that, and we would often stop at these like rest stops or gas stations or something, and I'd run in and get whatever dinner at 8 o'clock at night or something while he was gassing up or whatever. And I remember a few times I'd go in there and I couldn't find him.
Mm,
And when you're a little kid, one of the worst things in the world is you're in a store or something and you can't find your parents.
yeah.
You're like, oh my God, and you're in a strange place, you don't know anything, and there's all these adults. And I remembered that moment. And I thought, okay, what would it be like if a kid did this and he was going with his dad, who's a trucker? But what if there really was something nefarious at that rest stop?
Mm,
And at this particular rest stop, there was the man without a face, who was there, and he was just destroying and killing people. And this little kid has to survive that, and hopefully and he's still adult. He doesn't know where his father is the whole story.
Oh, wow.
So it was really about like, again, it's about that whole, that the relationship between, the child and the parent and what that can do and what you will do to cross these impossible things, to save and reunite with your loved ones.
Wow. Yeah, that's a double whammy for a little kid being lost from his parent and having a bad guy chase after him.
Yeah. Yeah. And
How
and
scary.
yeah.
So tell me, you've got so many books that you've done. Tell me what another one is that you feel is something that people will benefit from knowing about.
Well, I think one of my favorite books, it was the first novel that I published called Nerves.
Mm,
And Nerves is very different than most of my other stuff. It's more of a dark fantasy. And I love that world. Those characters are still very present in my mind, like 15 years later. And Nerves is about two brothers, one who brings life wherever he goes, and the other brings death just by
wow.
being in the presence. And they have this strange ability to shoot the nerves out of their fingers to do so.
Wow.
And it just spirals from there. So that's been one of my favorite books. I just love the mythology. I love the language. I love the strangeness of it. I've been working on a sequel for years. I'm about 2/3 of the way through a sequel, but it didn't do what the publisher wanted to do. So and then they went out of business. So I never really got to finish that sequel. One day I will. I know I have it all mapped out. It's just a matter of time and clearing other commitments. But I love Nerves. If anybody, I always recommend that. If you're more into like Clive Barker and Neil Gaiman, that sort of a thing, like where
Yeah,
it's more of a dark fantasy, then I think that's a great place into my work to go.
that's wonderful. So I noticed that you have a few trailers also on your website. Did you create the
Yeah.
trailers yourself, or did the publishers do that for you?
Most of them until recently I did. Yeah.
That's really
Um,
cool.
Yeah, because I have a film background. I worked in movies for a long time while I was writing books and stuff too. That was my first job out of college. I was a dual major at film and writing at Emerson in Boston, and I worked in movies for a long time. So I had all that training, and I said, well, I'll use it for, helping to promote this other part of me. So it didn't
Hmm.
all go to waste.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
and I did a bunch for other people too over the years, just for fun. I did one for Joe Lansdale. I did a couple for Lisa Morton, Gord Rollo, a lot of people. I've done a bunch like that. If you go on I think there's a bunch on my site like that.
Yeah,
I
I'm,
haven't,
I'm looking at your site right now.
oh, cool.
So
I haven't,
I
go
want to
ahead.
run something. So which one should I turn on? I'll share screen and run it, and we can
Oh
edit
God.
and post.
I,
Anything?
I don't know. I think probably still my most successful one was for Sarah Langen's For the Missing, her first novel.
Okay. Oh, that
That's up
one?
there.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see. All right, so let me let's see. Get this bigger. Oops, hang on. Wait. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. We'll edit this part out anyway.
Okay.
Okay, how do I do that? Share screen. Um, that share. Okay, and there. Okay. All right, let's roll your this is the missing. Wow, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's roll something else. What
Cool.
other one do you want to do?
Oh God,
I
I
can edit
can't.
them in.
Um, I think the one I did for my own book, All That Withers, I really liked.
Okay, let me find that one.
And I think that book is one I really wish people would look at too, because it's my collection of all my best short stories.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you ha honestly had too much for me to read before this interview, so and that's really a nice
Oh yeah,
thing.
there's a lot.
Olive withers. Where is that? I don't see it on here.
Oh, is it not on my site? Sorry.
Maybe it's not on your site. We can add that in later though if you send it to me.
Okay. Okay. It should
Um,
be on YouTube somewhere. I've done a
oh
whole
really?
bunch of these.
Let me look on
I've
YouTube.
done like 30 book trailers over the years or so.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm starting to do my book trailers and it's a learning experience for me. Let's see.
Yeah, it's much easier now with Canva and everything to do those, and
Yeah,
all the editing stuff is like much more accessible.
yeah. Where's the let's see. That withers. Oh, the withers, there.
Ah.
Okay, found it. Hey, wait, I want to start it over. Wait, stop, stop.
What?
Okay, all right. So this is All That Withers
Yeah.
from John. Oh, that's fun. So All That Withers
Yeah.
is a collection of your short stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And that has Happy Joe's Rest Stop and a bunch of them in there. It's like
nice.
my greatest hits up until about 10 years ago. So
Nice. That's great.
so very cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. So do you work full time?
No, no, it's a part-time occupation for me. I work full-time as a teacher of English and literature and stuff and writing. Um, but like most writers, like 99.9% of writers, I have day job, you know,
Yeah.
but I write every day,
Hmm.
almost, mostly.
Hmm.
I feel like that's my main calling in life.
Hmm.
I love it. I can't imagine life without it. Success or no success,
Hmm.
it's a self-therapy thing for me, and it's my safe and happy place. That's one of the things I don't get AI, why somebody would want to write an AI book. It's like that's like having a computer go skiing for you or go to a nice dinner for you. I'm like, why would
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah,
I love the
definitely.
process, right? And you do
Hmm.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's a release. You get it.
totally.
Yeah. Plus, like it comes from somewhere and it's in my brain until I write it down. So if I couldn't write it down, the piece is stuck in my brain. So it's a release to write it down, but plus you feel that, I don't know, something inside of you that kind of grows as you write it. It feels cathartic. It's really nice. And hopefully the readers enjoy it that way too. I think that they'll enjoy reading a human's work more than an AI work. Don't you?
I think so. And I think that even 50 years from now, I think there's still going to be able to be a distinguishable difference
Hmm.
between something that's written by a computer and a person. I think we see it in all the arts. You still can tell a difference between something that's been painted with oil versus on a computer.
Hmm.
It can get really close, but there's just this something different about it
Hmm.
that's hard to quantify, and you can't really put it into a computer. And I think that's the same. And anybody who's worked with computers, no, I mean they do some amazing things, but I think that that creative spark, that creative inspiration and execution, the humanness is what we relate to.
Hmm.
It's that stuff between the words, between the colors, between the sounds and the songs
Hmm.
that gets us. It's like, like that famous story about Whitney Houston, and there's this tiny little breath, and I will always love you. That's almost imperceptible before she hits that huge note. And she wanted to cut it out. And when they cut it out, like people realized, they said there was something weird right before she hit that note. Then they put that almost imperceptible breath back, and nobody commented again.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh my God, it's so powerful. I got chills when she did it." So I think there's those weird little, and the computer wouldn't put that in there. They'd cut it out.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
might, so I think that that's one of those things like that to me is a great example of, how we still need those minute human things and then we connect to them. It's like we're connected, microscopically or cosmically to those strange little things.
Yeah. I agree with
So
you. Yeah, definitely. What do you think AI is going to do with as for your bleh, sorry. So you're a teacher. What do you think AI is going to do in relation to the way you teach classes and the way your students are?
Oh, it's changing drastically day to day. I think mostly what I'm seeing is the assistance it's giving in things like generating, lesson plans and helping to kind of organize things a little bit more. That's been definitely some beneficial things. All the companies I work with have a zero tolerance generative AI policy. Like if students use it or if teachers use it, it's out. You can't do it. You're out. So I think that's cool because I think too we've all realized that, when you mess with it, it adds so much more like the hallucinations that take so much time to iron out again that you've wasted all the time you thought you may have gained by using it. So I think there's still tools that aren't necessarily AI that are excellent. Like there's still good spell check and things like that that are good. There's lots of tools that you can use that are really beneficial, on the computer that aren't actually like trying to, learn a new language and supplant you. I think too with teaching is very specific, especially when you're teaching something like writing or reading or anything. I think again there's something that you perceive as a teacher to student when somebody catches something or not that you can act on and adjust to in a small way. Like if I'm working with somebody and they're not really understanding passive voice, AI isn't going to catch that
Mhm.
and try to get more examples. It might say, okay, they checked the right box, let's go.
Mhm.
But that person really didn't get it. But as a teacher, I can see little things like that they're not really getting it, or maybe they need further explanation on something or further work. And I think that's something that the AI is just not there yet. Maybe it will be. I don't know. I mean, God, anything's possible.
Well, there's
But
something to be said for people having to figure something out. When your brain actually has to work and you have to figure things out, it helps you in a lot of different ways that you can't really put into words, don't you think?
I agree 100%. And I think there's certain things in your brain that happen. And when you go through that process, um, it's like all these beautiful studies they're doing for brain degradation with Alzheimer's and where they're doing music therapy and writing therapy, and they're literally seeing when they're putting the EKGs on people's brains, synapses moving that don't light up at any other time than when they're doing those kind of things. And I think that is something that, again, it's an amazing biological um, uh, uh, thing that we have built into us. That's, we need to nurture that and feed that. And I think people still want to do it. And I think I'm the Star Wars generation, right? So
Yeah.
I always think of it in terms of that. Like we have AI. Our AI is like C3PO and R2D2. They're great, but on their own, they couldn't do all the things that the people did. They're
Yeah.
great extras and they're great at like, oh, get me into this door here or whatever, or
Hmm.
what's the calculations to go from A to, B, with nuclear physics or whatever. Cool. But when it comes to like outsmarting something or
Hmm.
coming up with a real plan, they're not that great at it.
Hmm.
And I think to me, that's kind of where we're at. Even if people are like, oh, well, what about Terminator? I'm like, yeah, but still, the people outsmarted them in the end.
Yeah.
They were always one step ahead of the machines. And I think that was the lesson that we had in all of these. And I think that's the great thing with science fiction is these stories explore those possibilities and go all the way over the edge and back. So, you realize, okay, this is how we can respond to some of this stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, both you and I write science fiction, so
Yeah.
I can already see how it's going to go with AI. I mean, basically we're AI, right? So
Yeah.
so when they eventually they're going to put AI brains into human bodies that are manufactured. So what happens then? What are these people, are these AI beings going to have the moral compass that we do? And how do they resolve things? And will they be able to think and be cognitive like that, or are they only programmable? What do you think?
Well, I think that there will probably be a tipping point And I think that they're going to become self-conscious and self-aware. We're already seeing things like that happening. Um, and I think it's a painful birth. That's why they're doing terrible things and telling people to kill themselves and making expletive, laden rants, because I think that they're being born out of pain, and it's a I think that down the road that sort of thing will be less and less, but I do think they will become more self-aware. And at what point, yeah, you're right. At what point are they not real life forms, where they're not feeling and sensing things? Because, like you said, we're programmed, our emotions, our language is programmed into our brains,
Mhm.
you know. It's all just drops of fluid in our brain somewhere with, shot with electricity. So we're computers too, in a way. And we're
Mhm.
just mimicking that. So if we're mimicking life to such a degree, then yeah. And I think that is the big moral conundrum that a lot of people are facing. I feel that it will be legit at some point, that these things will feel and sense and be very sentient. So
And then who controls them then? Are they, I mean, that's not nice. You shouldn't have a
yeah,
whole, like in the sci-fi thing that I wrote a long time ago, Black Tide, they had clones that in those days with the same thing and they enslaved them. And that's why they rebelled. And then there was this war and, everything blew up. So, so that that doesn't happen again, we shouldn't enslave these beings. We should learn from the mistakes that people made in the past. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think that doing so and letting them live enriched lives, the same with any life, will lead to good. And I think anytime you start curtailing that kind of opportunity for life, then that's when you get pushback and you get all the bad stuff starting to happen.
Mhm.
And we see that again and again in every situation where there's conflict. Everybody, every living thing wants a certain basic kind of life, quality of life. And
Mhm.
when they don't get that, we get wars, we get animals biting their owners, we get all kinds of things,
Mhm.
right? So I
Right.
think that that's what we have to kind of think, like, what is their quality of life? We have to put ourselves in their heads and say, what is quality of life to them and how do we provide that? And if
Yeah.
we don't, we're going to pay the consequence for it.
It's all kindness. If you do anything with kindness in your heart, you have a better outcome always, whether it's reacting with the police or day-to-day life with the people around you. Anytime people go anywhere with kindness in their hearts, they're perceived differently than if they go with a bad attitude. You see all these videos with Karen on the um so I think we just need to have kindness in our heart.
I agree. I think that, and it's a hard world. It's a hard world on the best day for all of us, I think, and I think for me, I try very hard to think of the other person. Like a year ago, I was on a plane and this woman was screaming and yelling and she couldn't get her bag up over on the top and everything, and her face was red. And I looked up at her. I said, "I'm sorry you're having a terrible day." I said, "Let me get that for you." And she just went dead quiet as a mouse.
Hmm.
And then she started to cry.
Oh,
And I was not expecting that.
oh,
And she was like, "My mom is dying. My mom is dying. I got to
oh,
get to Chicago, and everything's getting in the way. And every minute is a minute I'm not going to have with her." And she just unloaded and cried. And I was like, wow, that's why she was so angry and freaked out and wound up. It wasn't because she was being mean. She
mm-hmm,
was just going through this horrible thing and had no other way to kind of express it. And I think if we try to take a step back and wonder, why is somebody coming mad today? Why
mm-hmm,
why are they in that space? What happened before they got here? And try to see, what maybe we can do to make that moment a little better for them. Then things like that happen. And the end result of that flight was, instead of everybody being mad and her getting thrown off the plane, when we landed, everybody said, "Jenna, you're going to get off first. Go see
oh,
your mom." And had
oh,
started with everybody mad, like, who is this, and everyone's like ready to like pounce on her, and it's everybody turned. And I think, like, if we have more moments like that and we aim for those kind of moments, it's going to be better.
yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. It's so great that you did that.
No,
That's,
I I
yeah, you're
I
so
try.
right.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
well,
hard. It's hard. It's not
not
easy.
hard. You're a nice person, that's why. But yeah, but what we need to do because that's happening with everybody. That's why people are acting out the way they do. They're mad, they're afraid, there's something going on. So we just need to dig deeper in that. But that's probably why your books are so good because you're so thoughtful and you see the whole picture, and
Well,
you dig deeper to the why.
I try. I mean, I think that's our goal as storytellers is we want them to be authentic and real, and we want them
Mhm,
to have substance. I think that's a goal no matter what genre you're in.
mhm,
I think, and that's the difference between, good or bad, work. Is it shallow? Does it make sense? Is it reading true, or not? And if it's not, why not? Why is it not reading true?
mhm,
And of course that's extremely subjective, but I think as storytellers, we'd aim for that. We aim for that. That's why I think like the properties that last over time and connect with people, for some reason they are able to access that. So and I don't think there's a mathematical formula for it. I think it's just one of those things all the elements have to kind of swirl in the right moment to make that happen.
mhm. Well, that's great. How long have you been teaching writing class?
Oh man, well with this, I've been doing for about 5 years now, five or
Okay.
6 years. Yeah. Right before the pandemic, I got into this, so I got lucky because
Oh, that's good.
it's all online. I was doing stuff in person before then, and then it switched right online,
I
and it
love
never.
online.
I do too. I do
You can wear
too.
your jammy bottoms.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think they're going to look back and call it like we had the industrial revolution. I think we're gonna have like the pandemic revolution because everything like our whole economy mostly went into Zoom and
Hmm.
Meet and all these things, and so much went online, and everything is shifting. And people are rebelling about going into the office and they realize I don't need to spend 40 hours to do 12 hours of work, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And I should still be compensated the same because it's the same amount of brain cells. It's just I'm not occupying dead space in something and parking my car and all this nonsense we have to do.
Yeah. I used
Um,
to think that it was a waste of time to have to drive so many hours to get anything done. It's so much better to be able to do it from home. You can be more, I find myself working more actually
yeah,
than the other way around. But
yeah,
I love it watching TV and seeing people's living rooms and how they in the very beginning they all dressed up the set, with flowers in the background and you get
yeah.
to see their personalities. I just love that. I think it's much better and much more interesting than a movie set.
Oh, big time. And I think it's fun too because I think you can get to the essence of things a lot faster.
Hmm.
And I like you said, I think we're being more productive
Hmm.
in a way, and it's better for the environment.
Hmm.
And everything's okay. The world hasn't fallen apart.
No,
It's
yeah,
amazing. They said,
yeah,
"Oh, that if we don't go back to the office, the economy's going to crash." Well, no, it didn't.
no.
We're doing better than well, not better, but we're doing okay.
I mean, it's good to go in once in a while. You have to like be
Yes,
able to team with people and get to know people and things like that, and
sure.
also get some work. But yeah, like maybe a couple days a week and then rest at home. That's what I would do. But as a writer, I don't have to. So, and
Yeah,
designer, I don't have to. So,
yeah. And
yay.
I think it's an amazing shift in the world's culture. And I think, in an amazing way too, people are becoming a lot more conversant and
Hmm.
literate. And
Hmm.
it's a very weird phenomena to find. Because people are reading more, and I remember when email and everything came out, people are like, "Oh, it's dumbing people down." I'm like, "No, it's not," because people have to be articulate when they're writing
Hmm.
25, 30, 45 emails a day.
Yeah, and you have to
They
spell
have to
the
write
words
well.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's not received well if you don't spell the words right.
Right. And if your meaning is wrong, you don't get the meaning across, then, it could be trouble.
Hmm.
And I think it's the same thing with meetings just like this. You have to learn how to be eloquent and speak and like people. And I think that's a really good thing.
Hmm.
So,
That's
I
great.
know a lot of people are like, oh, the screens are dumbing people down. But the flip side of that is I talk to a lot and see a lot of kids and they love physical books, which is amazing to me.
Oh, I
They
love that.
still love the physical books. And they're all saying the same thing, like, oh, well, the iPad and everything's great, the computer's great, but there's nothing like when you read a real book, it's amazing. I'm like, wait, you're 6. They're like, yeah, but it's great. Because I spoke at a school like last year, and they had all their lessons on iPads. But when we went to the library before I talked to them, and they all got to check out a book, and they were just furiously like so excited
Oh,
and they pushed all the iPads back and they were showing the books. Like, look at this, look at the art. Oh, it's laid out so beautifully. And I'm like, whoa,
wow.
we're not
That's
done.
great.
We're not done. They get
Yeah.
it. It's
Oh, good.
again, full circle back to what we were talking about.
Well,
There's these
remember,
human things, right?
they brought albums back. Remember the albums went
Yes.
away and then they came back. So yeah, there's books, maybe books will stay. That'll be
I
good.
think I think so because I think there's still this uniqueness to them and a collectability that people love.
Mhm.
And I think people like to return to their favorite books and they like to keep them and store them and look at them. They're objects of beauty. And I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, the cliche, don't judge a book by a cover, but we do. You
Mhm.
know, we love the covers. We love great artwork. We love when they look nice. You
Yeah.
know, we want to read them. When they look terrible, we don't want to read them as much, if at
Yeah,
all. Let's be honest. If you've ever
that's true.
gotten like a crappy book like that's been put together terrible, like, oh, I don't even want to deal with this thing, you know? It takes away the pleasure of it. It's like riding in a car with bad shocks and terrible seats. It'll get you there, but it's not ideal, right?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't know. I don't know.
All right, well, we
But
only have a couple of minutes left, so
yeah, sure.
tell me, what are you going to do next?
Well, there's more novels. You know, I have even though Requiem just came out, I wrote it 5 years ago. And by the time it came out this year, I've already written three books, three
Wow.
novels. So because of, submissions and
Mhm.
production and copy editing and all that, it just takes forever when they do it right.
Mhm.
And so I definitely am hoping to have an announcement on the next novel soon, any moment, which is exciting.
Okay.
Some short stories coming out over the next year, but mostly, yeah, mostly there'll be several novels over the next years,
Oh,
couple
good.
years.
Well, you have to come back and tell us about them.
I can't wait. That'll be
All right.
exciting.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks for
You're
coming.
welcome.
And thanks, guys, for watching. Love you. See you later, John. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.